This week for the music section, we have Sleep Token's cryptic teases seem to be hinting towards, at the very least, a new tour. We have Mastodon losing Brent Hines after 25 years, but they are assuring everyone that their plans for the rest of the year are going to remain intact. And then Aftershock 2025, gigantic bill. It's not the only gigantic bill that we have this week. We have that, a lot of news to cover in the music section, so don't forget to subscribe, do the things, and here's the music section. Welcome, nerds, to the Clips channel. If you are new here, then let me welcome you to the Clips. This is a smaller portion of a much larger video that happens over on the main channel. It's a series I like to call The Week in Nerddom. This right here is the music section. We are going to be talking about music-related things, tours, new music, reacting to videos, just regular news in the music news section, all of the things. Super excited to have you here. Let's get into the news. Here we go. Follow-ups, corrections for music. Happy 3/11 Day, I guess, because Mario Day happened this week, so also 3/11 Day happened this week. If you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, it's probably because it's not nearly as popular as Mario Day, but 3/11 Day happens every March 11th. It's a whole thing down in New Orleans. It used to be a 2-day festival situation. Now I think they might play a show. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at with that. We do have actual news, though, this week. In new music this week, we have a couple of things to talk about. First and foremost, I think I'm actually going to change the way the new music section works in upcoming episodes. Whereas right now we talk about mostly individual tracks that have released, and it's kind of a quickie review reaction kind of thing. I will still do that, but I think that is more appropriate for the That Just Happened show. So the new music section is going to evolve over the course of the next few weeks into this is the new releases of the week. Not necessarily a review or reaction to anything, just a heads up on if you like this music, there's new stuff there. So be aware of the change that is coming. However, we are still sticking with the format as it is right now. So let's talk about the music that came out this week, songs-wise anyway. Volbeat released a new track called By a Monster's Hand. Link, as always, for all of these is going to be down in the description. If you like Volbeat, this new track is kind of exactly what you're looking for. It's a little bit more on the rockin' side of their sound. They kind of vary between this very rock and roll, kind of throwback, almost like rockabilly elements to it, almost, especially in their first few records. This kind of harkens back to that more than it does their more metal sound, though it is still very much Volbeat. So if you know the sound, you know how this song sounds, you're going to love it, or not, whatever. But yeah, Volbeat, this is a pretty mild recommend. It's not going to change anybody's mind, but it's pretty solid either way. So there you go. Next on the list, we have Ghost, Satanized. Oh man, I do not know why people love this band so much. Instrumentally, it's fairly boring. As far as the production goes, the mix is like a throwback to the 80s that I don't think does anything that the 80s did well. It's very much focused on Tobias Forge's voice, which is what you would expect because it is his brainchild, this band. So yeah, I will probably try a couple more times to understand and or get into Ghost. As it stands right now, I don't get it, I don't understand it, I don't listen to it. So if you like Ghost, this is going to be more of the same that you like. For the rest of us though, stay away because this isn't doing anything for you. Next up is a new track from the band Imminence. This is a song called God-Fearing Man. This is a 5-minute slow burn, if you will. It does eventually crescendo and you get to the aggressive bits that you know and love Eminence for. The way that they just do the thing with the layering and the stuff and the modern metalcore, whatever the hell you want to call their sound, they do it just so well. And this does not feel like the 5 minutes that it is, and that is absolutely a glowing recommendation, because yeah, this is really good metalcore. I cannot recommend these guys enough. If you, I mean, this is one of a song that will convert like the heavy metal elite, the guys that don't think metalcore should be considered metal. This is the kind of stuff that would convert those guys. That is how good this is. I really think that Eminence is doing something really awesome and original, and this is a prime example of that, so go check it out. And then Cradle of Filth has released a new single. This is kind of exactly what you would think for Cradle of Filth. The name of the track is White Hellbore. If you know Cradle of Filth, especially off of the last two records, you know this. This one has a little bit more. I know the last single they released we talked about, I said this, but I think this is even more so, going back to her Ghost in the Fog kind of, at least like song structure and the mix of Danny's voice and the female vocal. Like, this very much harkens back to earlier days as far as production goes. As far as like the performance goes of the band though, this is very much in line with the last two records and solid. Like, there's nothing wrong here. If you don't like Cradle of Filth though, this isn't changing your mind, so mild recommend. Then our final new track that we're talking about this week is the new Struggle Jennings track. So I've only been passively aware of Struggle Jennings in the up until now. This track is featuring Jelly Roll. The name of the song is Only God Knows. Kudos to Mr. Struggle Jennings. Just kind of the little bit I did kind of look into him with his earlier career and kind of, you know, where he comes from, and he used to be incredibly overweight and now he's just kind of stacked. Yeah, congratulations on getting in shape, getting healthy, and getting clean. As far as the music goes though, like this is, so he used to be like kind of a hick hop act, much like Jelly Roll used to kind of be in that same vein. Now Jelly Roll does like R&B style vocals, there's just a lot of more harmony stuff. Struggle's kind of doing the same thing. He's leaning into that Nashville sound, that overproduced country music that honestly his grandpa Waylon would have really not been a fan of. And yeah, I can't get behind this. I understand that he is an artist that has gone through a lot in his career and has kind of bounced around in a lot of ways. I can't recommend this track. So yeah, I would say no go on Struggle Jennings. It's not to say that the genre as a whole is necessarily bad. It's just, it's hard to shine through when you sound like every other act coming out of Nashville. Which then puts us into tours and festivals, which is going to be a large portion of the music section this week, which as well it should be, especially at the beginning of the year, because we're getting into festival season, we're getting into the announcements for the year for tours, because like we've talked about before, you know, bands don't like to announce a tour until the year starts, because then they can say, oh, we have a record coming out this year that we're supporting, or, you know, X, Y, and Z reasons. There's a number of reasons. We've talked about them previously. We're not going to get into it ad nauseum. The first one, though, is the biggest and newest festival on the bill this week. So we have, oh, maybe not the biggest, but the craziest, I think, is probably appropriate here. We have Unhinged Festival was just announced. Unhinged Festival, this is going to be the first year for it, but though it does sound like they want to do it again every year. Doesn't necessarily sound like it's going to be in the same place every year. It might be in a different state, but this year it is in Denver, Colorado at the National Western Stockyards, July 26th and 27th. The reason this is nuts is because you will have on one day, on the same freaking stage, you will have Knocked Loose, Dillinger Escape Plan, The Garden, Converge, and the Callous Boys. And that's just the first freaking day. Lamb of God, Body Count, a whole nother gigantic crazy set list for the second day. Yeah, you can find links to tickets and such down in the description. Just, if you're in the Denver area, you are going to want to catch at least one of these 2 days, but probably both. But that's leading us into our next festival announcement. This is actually a little bit of an older festival. This is Mayhem Fest, which has gone through a very troubled past. Storied past, maybe slightly more appropriate. So Mayhem Fest started, like 15, 20 years ago. Went for a while, kind of went on hiatus, and then last couple years, it's been like a single date for a festival instead of a touring festival. Well, it sounds like this year they're going back to the touring model, but there's a little bit of a catch, and this is the signs of a dying ideology, I think, because they're kind of changing. I don't know that it's an official change, but a couple of the outlets that I saw breaking this story referred to this as the Miss Mayhem Festival, because there's 8 bands on the festival, on the tour. All 8 bands are at least female fronted, if not entirely female. I didn't write the band names down because I take amazing notes, but also it's kind of secondary to the fact that every female fronted or female membered band that I've ever heard an interview with or seen interviews with or anything along those lines really hates that distinction. They would rather just be considered a metal band. So if we're doing a whole tour based on the fact that all of these bands are female bands to some degree, like, I feel like that, read the room, guys, read the room. It's not that it's bad that it's a bunch of female bands on tour together. Sure, have at it. That's irrelevant. If it makes sense, then they're in the same genre, it'll be fun. But like, if you're selling it as, look at all the girls who can do the medals, like, that is so not what anyone wants. So I think this is going to be another struggle year for Mayhem Fest. That's the point I'm trying to get to. I really feel like this is just going to be lackluster ticket sales, and then we're gonna go without Mayhem Fest for another couple years because this one's not gonna sell enough tickets. So hopefully the bands, okay, I don't know that, honestly, I don't know that I saw the actual list of bands on the tour. That is accurate. Let me rewind a little bit. They have not officially announced all 8 bands yet because only 7 of them are 100% confirmed. So it sounds like they're waiting to get the 8th band confirmed before they release the list of bands on the bill. That sounds a little bit more appropriate. See, I don't take horrible notes, I just have a weird memory. So that's what we got for Mayhem Fest. Next, we have 2 tours that were announced that are very interesting throwback tours. The first of those is Spineshank with the Union Underground. Wow, those are 2 bands I never thought A, would go on tour together, or B, would really hear much from after, the early 2000s, but here we are. So it is the 25 years of Rebellion and Callousness. So the Rebellion record was the Union Underground record, and the height of Callousness is the Spineshank record. Both of those records came out in 2000. Wow, I'm old. The tour starts July 10th in Austin, Texas, runs through August 1st in Colorado Springs. There are a couple other bands on this bill that I think Edema was one of them, which is another band. We've talked about them actually fairly recently. I think it was towards the end of last season. They were going through some new vocalist issues that we talked about. But yeah, Edema's on this bill. It is a whole lot of like almost made it great bands from the aughts. So yeah, very interesting. The other throwback tour here is one that I'm slightly more interested in, and that is Powerman 5000 and the Taste of Armageddon 2025. This is featuring Il Nino, Trapped, and Head PE. Starts July 1st in Colorado Springs, Colorado, runs through August 2nd in Brentwood, California. They have quite a few stops, but it's not exactly extensive by any stretch of the imagination. Again, tickets can be found in the links down in the description, or you can just go to their Bands in Town pages or StubHub, or I think most of these are StubHub, not Ticketmaster, but maybe some of them are Ticketmaster, whatever. I don't have affiliate links for tickets, I just try and help you out. So yeah, that's what we got there. And then we have Aftershock. This is the other giant festival on this week's tours section. So Aftershock 2025 will be happening October 2nd through the 5th in Sacramento, California. The headliners, these are only the bands that are headlining the stages, because there's I believe it's 6 stages throughout the course of those 4 days. We have Blink-182, Deftones, Korn, Bring Me the Horizon, Good Charlotte, Perfect Circle, Bad Omens, Rob Zombie, and a lot more that are on those individual stages. We have High on Fire, Mudvayne, Devil Driver, August Burns Red, Static X. The list goes on for quite a while. It's about as long as my arm, not gonna lie. So again, link in the description if you want to see the entire list of bands, or if you just really dig the Aftershock Festival and you want to buy it sight unseen, again, link in the description, go do that. And then our last touring announcement is actually kind of a twofer. Both tours featuring Dying Fetus, both tours actually kind of happening simultaneously. So we have Dying Fetus with Flesh God Apocalypse and Death, which those three unto themselves would be quite an interesting show. These are a small handful of dates that are kind of side dates to the other tour. The side dates start April 25th in Austin, Texas, and run through May 13th in Fort Collins, Colorado. Like I said, they are side dates, so there's like 7 or 8 of them, nothing crazy extensive. But those 3 bands are also on tour with Cradle of Filth, Vomit Forth, and then there's a couple other bands on that tour as well that are bands I'd never heard of before. That tour starts April 17th, runs at the UC Theater in Berkeley, and wraps up round about May 14th at the Fillmore Auditorium in Denver, Colorado. So, pretty interesting touring schedule. The dudes in Dying Fetus, Flesh God Apocalypse, and Death are just masochists, I think, because they added a whole side tour thing. That I've seen bands do that before, but it used to be like back in the days when Ozfest was a thing, because Ozfest would have like 20 dates spread out over the course of 3 months, and so a lot of bands would group together and play what was considered off-fest dates, where it was, you know, we have 2 weeks before we have to be at the next Ozfest show, so let's do a little tour on our way there, and then let's do a little tour onto the next one, and so on and so forth. So I saw a lot of really cool bands that way, honestly, because Ozfest didn't necessarily always come around my neighborhood, but the off-fest dates were usually at small venues where I could actually meet the bands and stuff. So this is a similar situation. Tickets, again, can be found if you follow the link in the description. Go to the StubHub, whatever. Yeah, that is what we have for tours and festivals for the week. Which then puts us into some regular ass news. All right, nerds, so let's take a break real quick. New season, new sponsor. Well, not exactly new sponsor. This is technically an old sponsor. Me, I'm sponsoring myself. This season we're going to be doing a big merch push. Don't forget the Dubby. Dubby's always great, but we have merch. We're going to be doing active merch things, sales and special items and all this stuff. Right now, there are no special items up just yet over at the Spring store. We do have random stuff on the Redbubble store, both of which are linked down below. But if you go check out the Spring store, that's where the Basic Nerd merch line is. So any of your Basic Nerd stuff that you want, basically it's all of the sections that we do the Week in Nerddom in. So there's a gaming nerd, there's a comic book nerd, there's a music nerd, there's a TV nerd, all of the different sections, and then the split sections even. We have a gaming nerd, we have a tech nerd, we have comic book nerd, and a book nerd. That all of these are up in the Basic Nerd line. And then probably roughly once a month throughout the course of this season, we're going to be doing a special shirt in each of those, the section shirts, or however we're gonna sell it. I haven't worked out all of the details just yet, but we're getting there, all right? So go check out the Basic Nerd stuff. I super dig it. I think it's just the most simple way to proclaim to the world that you are nerdy in this area, or just generally nerdy, because it says generally nerdy at the back of all of these shirts, except for the zip-up hoodies say it on the chest. So yeah, go check it out. That is, I'm going to have a special, I will have things to show off soon. I need to order the individuals, the samples, and this shirt that I'm wearing right now is not currently up on the store. This is going to come back. It needs to be a little bit reworked because it still has the old logo on it. But yeah, we will be bringing back the "Do You Even Pop Culture, Bro?" shirts as a specialty item sometime throughout this season. So stay tuned for that. Go check out the merch, and let's get back to the video. First up, and probably the biggest story in heavy music right now, like all other stories combined, just the immense size of this sleep token situation is so baffling to me. I think it's freaking fascinating, and I think it's really cool that the community has grown to such a level that normie like outlets are starting to cover this. I'm pretty sure I saw a headline in, I believe it was the New York Post about this, maybe it was the Washington Post, one of the two of those had a headline about sleep token. And this is actually, again, we have a bit of a twofer situation. So we haven't really been covering the sleep token like mystery that's been going on. So let me give you the quick rundown, the TLDR as the kids say. So a few weeks ago, there was a mysterious puzzle on the website, on the sleep token website. If you finished the puzzle, that took you to an Instagram page. That Instagram page, or it took you to another website rather. That website had you sign up for a mailing list. Some of the people who signed up for that mailing list were then sent sheet music a number of days later. Sheet music with no lyrics, just the notes. I'm dropping my microphone. No lyrics, just the notes. And it was analyzed. It sounds, you know, according to the composer who analyzed it, the way he was describing it, sounds like sleep token. So this is some sort of tease for new music. Then we had their Instagram page posted up 2 images for 2 different factions that are going to very likely somehow play into their next record, which presumably they're working on somehow right now. Then those two images, hold on to that for a second. We're going to come back to those. Then their Instagram page, just like 2 days ago as I'm filming this, posted up a video of a flamingo with a very stylized look that has this very kind of worn sleep token-esque. Like they have an image, like they have, you know, their look in a photograph of a flamingo rather. You'll understand what I mean when you see it. But it was technically a video. There was audio put to it. It sounds like the intro to a new track that has yet to be released. It is like 3 seconds long, if that. So there's really not a whole lot to analyze there. It's just kind of an atmospheric, kind of ethereal kind of sounding thing. And then with revisiting those 2 images, so this is presumably all lead up to the title of the post. I wrote it down. Prepare for a new offering is what they posted with the video that had the music and the flamingo. That was the text in the post, was prepare for a new offering. So presumably that means they're putting out a new record soonish. There was an interview with one of their managers a couple of months ago who was saying that they should, because they're one of the headliners at the Aftershock as well, they should have a new album out by the time Aftershock happens. And then, on top of everything, we also got a bunch of venues across the country on their social media platforms. We're posting pictures, or we're changing the avatar image to be one of those 2 images that was on the other website that the one puzzle website led you to. So you have these 2 different images. Again, I forget exactly the name of the factions, but it's like a pale green and then like an off-white thing, and they have these logos and blah, blah, blah. We have different venues around the country changing their social media images to be those images. And so again, presumably that means we're leading up into a touring announcement as well, probably sometime very close to Aftershock, if not at Aftershock. We will have an announcement from Sleep Token about a new US tour, because all of the venues are US venues. Though it is, if you try and like connect the dots between the venues that have done this, like there's a lot of gaps. So presumably some of the venues are not playing as nice with the artist as they would like, I'm sure. Some of the people in charge just don't see the reason why they should, I would imagine. You've got a dude in a suit who's never listened to a single note that Sleep Token's ever written. Why should we do this on our social media? This doesn't make sense. Like, that sounds like a conversation that would have been had, right? So yeah, all of that is to say, this is really speculation, but like, it's so fascinating to see the community just go crazy and like digest all of this information and figure out the puzzle so quickly, and it's really fascinating. We don't really know much else. As soon as official announcements are made, we will be talking about it, but until then, we got to move on. And this is the other biggest piece this week. This one's huge and actually has gotten one of the older videos on the Clips channel a lot more traction because it's all about Mastodon and Brent Hinds. Previously, the video that I just referenced, we were talking about Brent Hinds said some stupid stuff in an interview and the crowd reacted effectively. You have a lot of the fan base kind of reacted negatively to it, but the thing we were talking about previously was the not so negative coverage that they got from the media, the music media. Well, it would seem that something else has happened behind the scenes because Brent Hinds now has officially left the band. Like, officially. They just started a new tour. None of their tour dates are going to change. They have assured the fans that they will continue with everything that is already on paper for the year 2025. They have a substitute player right now, substitute guitar player, presumably guitar player vocalist right now, who is named Ben Eller, who is a YouTuber who does like how to play guitar videos, which is pretty cool. Like, makes sense that a guitar teacher would be the dude to step in for Brent Hinds because those are some riffs. But yeah, we have, after 25 years, Brent Hinds has left the group. There is still no definitive word as to whether or not Brent left of his own accord, if it was a mutual split, though I think that is kind of how it's being interpreted, is that it's mostly mutual. But we have yet to receive official word from Brent. There has been a statement from the band saying that, you know, we wish him the best in all his future endeavors. We're very grateful for the 25 years of service that he has given to the band, all of the art that he has created with us. We love it, blah, blah, blah. All of the things that you're supposed to say when somebody leaves the band. But we don't have anything from Brent. We did see before the tour started, by about a week or so, they did a big panel conversation about the Moby Dick. It was a big that Brent was not a part of. It was Bill, Troy, and Braun were there, but Brent was not. So kind of foreshadowing what was about to happen, and now it's happened. The procedure unchanged. No specific reason for Hinds' departure was given, though his past ambivalence towards heavy metal music has fueled speculation. That was the other half of that. The previous conversation is Brent has gone on record saying he would much rather play in like a country band, or just is tired of playing metal, tired of being in a metal band, tired of being in one of the biggest metal bands in the world, which kind of blows my mind a little bit because he writes a lot of that music. Like, for the last few records, he hasn't contributed quite as much as he did for the first few records, but like, still, dude is a hell of a writer for the genre he supposedly has grown tired of, so whatever. But ending significant contributions, 8 studio albums, Grammy-winning track, and like I said, YouTuber Ben Eller has been brought in. He is only a stand-in player. He has not been announced to be the official replacement permanently for Hinds. Presumably they are still looking possibly for an actual replacement for Brent, but as it stands right now, that's all we have, so let's continue on. Then our last piece of regular ass news for the week has to do with the band Glassjaw. Apparently this has been a thing that they've been building up to for a while, and I just didn't know it because a few months ago it was announced that this was going to happen, and now it has happened, so we're talking about it. What am I talking about? Glassjaw, for those that don't know, the kind of post-hardcore, I think, is their technical subgenre. The dudes who just know how to be awesome. I honestly am not the biggest on Glassjaw. I have listened to quite a bit of their music. I am more of a fan of their vocalist's other project, Head Automatica. They only did the 2 records. It's kind of more of a meme than anything, but Daryl Palumbo, I'm pretty sure is his name, Glassjaw, started the thing. When he first joined the band, they recorded what is known as the Dawn Fury demo. This was from 1998, which is 2 years before the release of their first actual record, which is called Everything You Ever Wanted to Know About Silence. This is the original demo that kind of got them to where they are. It has been released officially on vinyl. No word yet as to whether or not it is going to see a digital release, or even if they're going to release any other physical media besides just vinyl. As it stands right now, though, if you follow the link in the description that will take you to the source article, which has a link to buy the vinyl. I just didn't. If I remember to do it before this goes live, I'll try to put the vinyl link in there too. But as it stands right now, that's what we got. So let's get into our suggestion for music this week, because our suggestion is a bit of a banger. Suggestion music this week, we have Spiritbox's new record, Tsunami Sea. Just came out last week. I have heard just about every track on this record at this point. It's a few of them multiple times, because there's just, it's a lot to digest, honestly. I didn't quite realize before that each of their records is kind of a concept album, and the concept on this one is really kind of dense. It's kind of also self-indulgent, so that's part of it as well, but man, the payoff is so good. No Love, No Loss is still probably the best track on the record, though there's a lot on there that kind of is almost that good as well. So really strongly suggest you go check out Spiritbox's new record, Tsunami Sea. Thank you very much, nerds, for tuning in. If you want to level up your nerdy, geeky, pop culture knowledge, then don't forget to subscribe and do all of the things. Go check out the main channel, Generally Nerdy, for the larger portion. Again, you get all of these sections into one convenient video over on Generally Nerdy. The name of the show is The Week in Nerddom. Thank you for checking out this clip. We will see you next time. Before we go, though, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.